So last week, we were talking about starting our day and having an intentional time to allow our bodies and minds to reset and restore themselves. And in the bulletin, I had a short prayer to help us experience this restoration early in our day. So as I was thinking of the message, I was thinking, well, that's good to start your day, but what happens when we start our day good and we're going about our day, but it's one of those days where it feels like everything goes wrong. It even feels like the world is winning and we are losing. It might be a feeling like God has not heard us. He hasn't heard our prayer, or He just is not fulfilling the need. And I think that's something that many, if not all of us, have experienced in our lives. And this part of the Psalms, Psalms 38 to 41 specifically, they contain specific appeals to God for mercy and for relief from the consequences of sin. So when we look at that in the story of these Psalms, it has been an extended time that this psalmist has been waiting. Most scholars and church historians believe these Psalms were written by King David. He is attributed with many of our Psalms. So they're thinking maybe this is when King Saul was chasing him. He was being chased, and that was an extended period. He's waiting for God to deliver him. But now God has heard him and has now answered his prayers. So now this psalmist must tell others about it. That first verse, I waited patiently for the Lord, who turned to me and heard my cry. The Lord lifted me out of a slimy pit, out of mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. No matter what trial or storm we might be facing, it's always good to focus on the goodness of God. With faith, hope is never gone. We always have hope through our faith. I waited patiently for the Lord. And something I discovered watching The Chosen, we were talking about that. The season 3 is streaming now, but I'm like, I want to watch the first 2. But I've heard them use this word in the series, Adonai. So I researched it, and it's actually the word they used when it's written. They would write Yahweh, which is WHYH. And the Hebrew people hold that name in such reverence they would not say it. They would not speak it. So we translate that Yahweh usually as Lord. Just imagine, they hold God in such reverence, that name. They didn't want to speak it. Blessed are those who make Adonai their trust, who do not turn to the proud, to those who go astray after false gods. It's with faith we place our trust and our hope in God and not anything else. And I was thinking, isn't that really the key to waiting patiently for God in our lives and in our situations? When we're patient and waiting for God, it expresses several things. First, that it shows that we are confident in the outcome. We know that no matter the outcome, that God is in control and God is good. Psalm 38 verse 15 says, Lord, I wait for you. You will answer, Lord my God. I'm waiting, Lord. I know you're going to answer because you're my God. Our patience also demonstrates that we trust. We trust God. We know God is for us and not against us. Means that we trust in God to do good in our lives. O Lord, do not withhold your mercy from me. let your steadfast love and faithfulness ever preserve me. That reminded me of that verse from Romans, verse 28, chapter 8. It says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. God calls us and we trust in his goodness to do good in our lives. That's the foundation of our faith. Trusting in the outcome allows us to have this peace and not be afraid. When our lives are built on the foundation of faith in God, we won't give in as easily to those external pressures that surround us at times. Sacrifice and offering you do not desire, but you've given me an open ear. Burnt offering and sin offering you have not required. Then I said, lo, I come. In the roll of book, it is written about me. God has written your name in his book. And because of that, I delight to do your will, O God. Your law is within my heart. Patience is what allows us to be productive, to live a good life while we're waiting on God. That first verse again, I waited patiently for Adonai. And then the psalmist proclaims that God can give us a new song, bringing us out of that miry bog and setting our feet upon a firm foundation. In some translation it says setting us upon a rock. And we Christians, we know that Jesus Christ is the rock of our salvation. That's what we set our feet upon. The Lord put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and be in awe and put their trust in the Lord. Some of you may have heard this quote, I'm guessing most. Music charms the savage beast. That's actually a misquote. This is a quote from a long time ago, actually from a 17th century poet and playwright. His name was William Congreve, and the original saying was, music hath the charms to soothe a savage breast, to soften rocks or bend a knotted oak. Music has the power to change things, is what he's saying. And indeed, for a long time, people have known the powerful effect that music can play in our moods. It can literally move us. If you get a song that you like, maybe you get up and you start moving, clapping your hands. We all have those certain songs and certain music that gets us moving literally. And the truth is, today, I say, what does this mean for our spiritual life? I just want to affirm that we need to pay attention to what we listen to, because it can affect our mental and spiritual well-being. Garbage in, garbage out, they say. And the truth is, everyone listens to something or someone every day. We need to be intentional about what we're listening to, because it can and will affect us. I'm sure many of you have experienced, if you're watching the evening news and it seems like there's nothing but bad news, I just saw, it breaks my heart. There was another auto accident 13 hours ago with another young person lost their life. But you hear these bad news, it's like, I just turned the TV off. I was like, okay, I acknowledge it's not going good. I'm turning it off because I feel it affecting me. Now, I have certain music. Like if it's getting late at night, later in the day, I want to relax. I'll listen to certain music. I like earbuds. Now, if he's talking, are you listening to me? Yeah. But it allows me to relax. And then some days, especially after lunch, you're trying to get something done. It's like, I need a nap. I'll play special music to help me be more productive, to keep me awake. Then if I want to really get my blood pumping, I'll play some different kinds of music. We all have different music that affects us differently. Think about how different music might affect you. So, just being mindful of how we use not only our ears, but our voices is a way to offer us another way to transform and be a transformative spiritual practice every day. There's been recent studies on the effect of music on the brain. And what these studies have shown is that different parts of the brain are activated depending upon the type of music and whether we're just listening, whether we're playing and singing, whether we're learning something, or even those who compose music. It all activates different areas of our brain. Music can alter the structure and function of immediately while we're listening to it, and even after repeated exposure. It's been discovered that these changes in brain circuitry and connectivity suggest opportunities to activate certain regions to even promote healing. Scientists are now looking forward to using cutting-edge research of the brain to build on what's already known about the therapeutic power of music for people with dementia, depression, and other neurological conditions. For instance, if they're playing a march or a rhythmic type of music, people with Parkinson's disease, it stimulates them to get them moving physically. The brain saying, hey, let's get up and let's start moving. Similarly, people with short-term memory loss from Alzheimer's often recognize familiar songs like Happy Birthday. They've sung it their whole lives because that memory is encoded in our brains. So they're doing some interesting studies, and what they've done is something that they refer to as pro-social, I should say, pro-social behaviors. And these are voluntary behaviors that tend to benefit others, pro-social behavior, such as empathy, kindness, generosity, helpfulness, and cooperation. Listening to the right kind of music makes people more inclined to spend time and energy helping other people. And it's especially effective when it's appreciated in a group. If you've gone to a concert, when people dance or play music and you have these hundreds or thousands of people singing or clapping, it's so uplifting. You feel a part of it. And this pro-social effect of music has been noticed not only in adults, but in children up to 14 months old. The most effective music has lyrics that advocate kindness and helpfulness. Listening to positive lyrics can affect how kind and generous you will be, and even how you'll spend your money. They've discovered that restaurant customers leave bigger tips when music with a positive message is being played during your meal. So if you go out to eat and they're playing positive music, they might be after a little bigger tip. Positive song lyrics even help people feel less prejudiced and fearful of those who are different than them. I think basically to sum this up, what this means is most people understand that music creates a different ambiance. Go out to dinner at a nice restaurant. There might be soft piano music playing. There might be candles lit. It's setting a stage. It sets our minds at ease. Another great way in which music is able to influence us and affect our bodies, which I mentioned earlier, is it can help us be more productive in certain tasks. Music and brain research conducted over the years has found that music stimulates our brain receptors, which can communicate with other parts of our bodies. We can be more productive. It can be like a natural pick-me-up after a long day at work. When I had a secular job and it's a little harder day, maybe you work longer or harder, I turn that positive music on, to set the stage and help me revive my tiredness. And some people will even feel stronger because it can affect your adrenal glands. It'll secrete adrenaline dependent upon the music. So what can we use all this information to help us in our everyday lives? And I thought, what if every day we just remind ourselves to listen to some uplifting music? If you have a music collection, CDs or tapes or records, go through it and pull out some of your favorites to play this week. Set your radio station on a preset to a station that plays uplifting music. And listen to it at least once a day. What about making your own music? Those who play an instrument, play it once a day. If you don't play an instrument, find something that you can sing along with, uplifting and cheerful, and see if it doesn't help your mental state. God has opened our ears and placed a new song in our mouths. So when we have those times, when we're struggling for whatever reason, we can actually flip the switch and turn something on that might help inspire us, help turn our negative to the positive, to remind us that God is good. And even though He might not have answered our prayer right now, we can rely on His faithfulness and His goodness. No matter what trial or storm we're facing, it's always good to focus on the goodness of God. With faith, our hope is never gone. It's with faith we place our trust and hope in God and not anything else. Today we just want to affirm that what we listen to can impact us positively, can make a difference in our mental and spiritual well-being. May we all sing aloud with praise to all God is and all God has done in our lives. Amen.